of our Lord, 1033. Autumn. Late autumn. I've been away a long time, and I have returned to a very different world. There's been a series of significant updates, including a performance update. This was needed, so that's nice. But there's been a vast overhaul in the way war is conducted now. It's now possible to outright destroy Tier 1 monuments during Judgment Hour. Just for those who don't know the way it works, you take a battle totem, plant it on the enemy claim, and fight an instance battle, provided the enemy show up. If you win, or the enemy doesn't show up, it damages the monument of the claim where the totem was thrown down. This causes the monument to downgrade, eventually reaching level 1. Then, it can be destroyed in a conventional siege. This means nowhere is safe anymore. Every claim, in one way or another, can be destroyed. So war now carries a certain severity that it didn't before. Anyway, it wasn't long after my return I was thrown straight back into the meat grinder. I was taken on my first night back on a raid into Parched Winds to destroy some outposts. We went in, claimed an outpost, moved to another, and were busy trying to get inside when the former elements of Ashenfell showed up and gave us a good smack on the bottom. Wasn't even a fight, really. Like, we got annihilated. Now Coco Baby says, "You're winning, or you're learning." And I learned several things from this. First, check your item durability before you leave the castle, dipshit. Second, many of the things I learned in PW are applicable in this game too. For example, dicking around outside the enemy castle is asking for trouble. Thirdly, I suck at being Huskarl. The Morningstar is a devastating weapon if you can use it, but I can't. Because I'm shit. So it's time for some changes. So I took advisement from somebody better informed than me called Zickles, and I thought this guy seems to know what he's talking about, and I rebuilt Jampad Lagros into a much more versatile chap. Away with the useless pike, in with a partisan. Away with the ill-suited Morningstar, in with a falchion. And away with the wasted stat points and in with high constitution. Jampad Lagros has become Derval Pattern. My body is ready. For war. I made these changes over the course of a week of almost non-stop fighting. It's that week you're about to see. It might surprise you, given everything I just said, that our corner of the world is now relatively quiet. Then again, it might not surprise you, since this is post the whole ignominiously falling apart thing that happened to CS. In place of that, we now find ourselves with new allies. Previously, we were part of TFA for a while when I wasn't here. After a while, relations with TFA became strained since we didn't have enough common interest to the point that helping each other would require us to go miles out of our way just to help each other in minor ways. In short, we weren't a good match, so we sought accommodation in the new alliance. And my world has just got a whole lot bigger. I am now going to do a highly generalized version of the global politics on Avalon. I am probably going to get things wrong. Feel free to correct me. So first of all, the Templars have retained our land, and you could say expanded it. We now have a pair of bridge claims, one on the Sand Penis and one next to Gamerike. To our immediate north is a small but strong cluster of TFA guilds, including Norwich and DNO. To the west, the land is still owned by the men formerly known as Ashenfell. They are now hostiles, and are a self-styled mercenary company, so I think it's best to say that land is now independent, for the most part. Although you could say they lean more in the direction of Blue Team, which is something I have not explained. Put a pin in that, come back to that. Much further to the west, there is a Blood-Pact enclave on an island in Server 8. To the south, there's a smaller island controlled by the Varangian Guard, abbreviated as TVG. Pretty much everything on the western side of the main island is controlled by TVG, although there's scattered claims of independence and other alliances. Those are raiding bases for the most part, and the area soundly belongs to TVG. That is until you reach the northern part of Western Domain. There's so many Blood-Pact and TVG claims around here, I think it's fair to call this disputed territory. On the islands to the west there's a few TFA clusters. The most notable I've seen are the Barbarians. They'll come up again later. Further to the north we have the Heartlands of Blood-Pact, our new hosts. Yeah, they're on the other side of the world. Just to the southeast there's a small alliance which, as far as I know, is an independent guild called, I hope I say this right, Movimiento Naranja, which literally means Orange Movement, or MN, or Men, or Fanta People, I don't know. To the east lies the heartlands of the Fearless Army, or TFA, as you know them. Then, to the south, the Central Domain and Sleeper's Hammer is dominated by the United Slavic Host, or USH. That's all I'm going to go over right now. There is more to it, but these are the ones that are relevant today. So to explain what I was talking about earlier, a lot of the major alliances have common enemies, and it's created this worldwide dynamic that people refer to as red versus blue. It's not totally binary, like I'm sure other people have beefs with these other guilds, but for the most part, it is adhered to. So just to kind of put this in context, TFA, Blood Pact, and by extension the Templars are in Red Team, and TVG, USH, DAC, and sort of the Hostiles are part of Blue Team. Given that our sector has gone quiet for the time being, and given that Blood Pact have various enclaves of guilds scattered all over the world that could use some muscle, the Templars are going on tour, or on a pilgrimage, if you want to RP. Almost all the Templars have 2 characters by now, so it's not even like we're abandoning Black Templars anyway, so what the hell? Let's hit the road. We've actually been given a new castle, which elements of Blood Pact we're going to get rid of anyway, on the southern border of Chilling Thickets. It's called Freyaheim, my new home for the time being. Do you know the furthest north I've ever been is the main city? This is a long way for me. Before we travelled to Freyaheim, though, we made a detour to Server 8. Some of our new friends were planning to assault and destroy a Tier 1 claim sitting right in the heart of their territory. We arrived at Berserkova the night before, and during Judgment Hour the day after, we moved on the claim in force. I was told on the day to expect something in the region of 40 enemies. There was not 40. There was maybe 10, if that. The Templars were not really needed. We did our bit, though. The cavalry ran interference around the castle to halt enemies getting inside, and the infantry watched the gate to make sure no one escaped. Menial but important shit. Eventually, TVG mustered a relief force and sent them over, and it was maybe 15 or 20 of them. Some people died. It was over quickly. The whole Judgment Hour was an exercise in overwhelming numbers. It wasn't a battle, it was a Zerg rush. A torch and burn operation. In fact, if you want to see it from the perspective of the defenders, there's a link in the description to a separate video. Bore as hell, people. Come on. Anyway, when it was over, we were thanked for our help. It was mentioned that Server 8 was a little bit safer now, and although there's no renown or glory gained from such a victory, the objectives were achieved. With that, we buggered off up north. I have to say, despite the distance, the journey across country was made ridiculously easy by these courier horses. I like them, which is counterintuitive for me, since I'm terrified of horses IRL. I mean, they're giant walls of muscle that will kill you if you stand behind them. It's not an irrational fear. We arrived at Freyaheim, made ourselves residents. We could be here for some time. Didn't take long being up there to make ourselves useful, though. We helped destroy some of the local Tier 1 claims. No one was home when we raided, but they must have been useful to someone at some point after all. Either way, if you want to control somewhere, it's not a good idea leaving fortified enemy positions near your territory. A perfect example being a TFA-controlled claim to the south of us. As I mentioned earlier, to the west of Freyaheim there's an island controlled entirely by a Russian guild known as the Barbarians. They're a TFA entity, but they've been of really good help to Blood Pact in the past, so when we heard they were in a spot of bother, we were only too happy to help out. They'd constructed a raiding base just outside an enemy claim to the south called the Knights Who Say They're a TVG guild. At present, the raiding base is a Tier 1 claim, so the local hostiles really don't want it in their area. And they're very enthusiastic about the idea of getting rid of it, and rightly so, quite frankly. On one particular Judgment Hour, we were busy building ladders into the Varangian Guard claim for a laugh, when we got word of a pitched battle taking place in the south at Knights Who Say. We momentarily hesitated because we were utterly enthralled by this ladder building, but we reluctantly made our way to the epic battle instead. Alas, we were not the ones to begin the fighting. That plaudit belongs to the Barbarians. in the right place at the right time. It seems we were the force multiplier that made it possible to keep TVG away from the siege claim. If we can keep this claim alive long enough to turn it into a tier 2, it'll go from being a thorn in their side to a much bigger thorn in their side. Which means every day it's allowed to grow is a small victory, no matter the cost. And on that note, kudos to barbarians. Jesus, they held the fucking line. Especially this Wolik guy. Perseverance. Wolik be thy name. Also, my new character build seems to be working out, so that's nice. Also, as a side note, that performance update is really good. Look at this side-by-side comparison of several months ago. That is bananas. So, good job, devs. The day after this, I was finally accepted into an instance battle. Is it because my constitution is higher now? Yeah, probably. This isn't my first instance battle, though. It's actually my second. I didn't record my first one because of reasons. This is my first alongside Bloodpact, though. It was a 50 versus 50 offensive battle for the local enemy claim of La Madrigara. I think La Madrigara is a tier 3 claim, so this would only be the first of many, even if we won. But what the hell? We gotta start somewhere.
Problem.
You go straight for the totem. We fight together. Oh.
Jesus, we should have protected the infantry. Everyone to the totem now.
Yeah, Jumpad lives. Thank you, dead horse. Maybe your kind isn't so bad after all. That was damn close, though. Not just my death, but the battle as a whole. I'd actually like to do a more detailed breakdown of the battle, but that's for next time. It ties into some of the ensuing battles and their results. It's been a great initial success in the north, but this isn't over yet. Not by a long shot. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching.